Millennia before the golden age of the Kingdom of Benin, the ancestors of the Edo people journeyed through lands, guided by destiny and drawn by fertile land. They settled in the rainforests of West Africa, becoming a patchwork of hamlets. From these beginnings emerged the ancient Edo kingdom of Igodomigodo, ruled by the Ogiso, the king from the sky, whose divine authority united the communities. This is the origin story of the Edo people of Benin Kingdom, the migrations that shaped them, the rise of the Ogiso Dynasty, and the dramatic fall that set the stage for the Oba Dynasty. Please take a moment to like this video. Your support means everything to me. Thank you. The Kingdom of Benin, the pre-colonial kingdom located in the southwestern region of present-day Nigeria, was one of the most frequently described West African empires in early European accounts. From the late 15th century onward, sailors and traders returned to Europe with tales of its grandeur. But information about the kingdom before this European contact is known only through fragments of archaeology and oral traditions. And information about their origin is non-existent in the public sphere. Fortunately, with the advent of eubeneology, that is, the organized study of Benin history, language, and culture, progress is being made. The era before the Ogiso Dynasty began is the most mysterious period. The oral traditions that exist are hard to verify. Still, it's unreasonable to ignore them completely. Historians and archaeologists have come to agree on one thing. Any attempt to reconstruct Benin's prehistory will involve a fair bit of speculation, so let's get into it. Although linguists say that there is reason to believe that for upwards of 3,000 years, people speaking varieties of the Edo language have occupied the present-day region of Benin City. But still, like many other West African peoples, the Edo people have traditions suggesting ancient migrations from elsewhere. The first notable migration theory traces the origins of the Edo people to Nupeland and the Nile Valley. According to this theory, two separate waves of migration of Edo people settled in the Benin area in one of those migrations common to tribes seeking more fertile land. The first wave came from Nupeland, and the second wave migrated from Sudan through Nupe about the 7th century AD. A second migration theory traces Edo people's roots to Egypt. According to this theory, they migrated from Egypt via Sudan, and then through Ife, which they refer to as Uhe. In this version, a group of hunters was sent from Ife to inspect the forested land that would later become Benin Kingdom. These scouts found it favorable and reported back. When the migrants finally arrived, they encountered earlier inhabitants who were believed to be of Nupe origin. It is presumed that part of the migration may have been triggered by Islamic expansions, which pushed groups southward in search of security and fertile land. But how reliable are these accounts? While the Egyptian migration theory is dramatic and memorable, many scholars are critical of the theory. Some modern Bini chroniclers argue that there is no archaeological evidence indicating such a migration from Egypt. Also, they say enough material and linguistic connections simply do not exist between ancient Egypt and Benin to support such a long migration route. Instead, they propose that the Edo people are indigenous to their present area. One of the strongest cases for the local origin of the Edo people comes from linguistic studies. Linguists point out that Edo languages are closely related to a number of languages, including Yoruba and Igbo. This suggests that all evolved from a common ancestral language, called a proto-language, spoken near the Niger-Benue confluence. This proto-language likely began to split into separate branches between 3,000 to 6,000 years ago, as communities began migrating east and west into the savanna and forest zones. Archaeological and linguistic timelines suggest that the ancestors of today's Edo-speaking people have likely lived in or near modern-day Benin City for over 4,000 years. This makes the Edo autochthonous, meaning they did not migrate from distant lands, but rather evolved culturally and linguistically in the land they now occupy. Further archaeological evidence shows that the region that will become Benin Kingdom was already partially agricultural as far back as the 1st century BC. One of the key discoveries is the presence of polished stone axes, which suggests early attempts at forest agriculture. These tools show that the local population was adapting to the forested environment and beginning to clear land for farming. For nearly 1,000 years after that, hunting and gathering remained important alongside farming. These early Edo communities were likely small, self-sufficient, and slowly developed in more complex social structures. While the influence of neighboring regions like Ife and Nupe can't be denied in later periods, there is no evidence that the foundational Edo people originated from those places. But still, we can't just ignore the theories about migration from the Nile region completely, because some elements of Edo culture, like certain ritual symbols, artistic motifs, and elite cultural elements, seem to echo those of ancient Egypt and Nubia civilizations of northeastern Africa. For example, the ram, a common emblem for Benin chiefs, which is also found in Igbo and Yoruba traditions, could be seen as a transformation of the sacred ram of the Egyptian god Ammon. The ibis, another royal symbol often called the bird of prophecy in Benin, parallels similar depictions in ancient Egypt, where it's associated with the Egyptian god Thoth. The design of the Benin harp is strikingly similar to those found in Mere. Even the cross used in Benin to symbolize dignity has known equivalents in Nubian and Meroitic cultures. These similarities continue to fuel speculations about ancient migrations from Egypt to Benin, but modern researchers are very skeptical. They propose a different explanation. They think, rather than indicating a direct migration or sudden arrival of Egyptians in Benin, these northeastern African elements likely spread gradually over time through long-distance cultural exchanges. From Egypt and Nubia, such influences could have moved westward through Central African societies like the Songhai and Jukun, eventually reaching the forest zones of West Africa. This theory of cultural diffusion, a slow movement of ideas, symbols, and technologies across regions, is currently being studied and is now seen as a more realistic explanation of certain phenomena. It suggests that African civilizations, including those of the forest belt like Benin, did not exist in isolation, but were part of a larger network of cultural dialogue stretching across the continent. By the beginning of the first millennium AD, the Edo people had cleared the area of the forest they occupied and were living in clusters of independent village settlements. Each village was led by an elder, usually the oldest man in the settlement. In circa 300 AD, these villages united, partly for protection and partly to enjoy better economic opportunities. The most powerful village head became the king. The people would come to believe their rulers were not just ordinary men, but kings from heaven. This gave rise to the title Ogiso, from the words Ogie, meaning king, and Iso, meaning sky. In their view, the Ogiso was a ruler sent by God. During the reign of the Ogisos, Edo territory was known as Igodomigodo, a name taken from the name of the first Ogiso, Ogiso Igodo. Thus, Igodomigodo means land of Igodo. It is not certain when Igodomigodo was founded precisely. However, it is generally accepted by Benin historians that there were 31 Ogiso reigns in total. While different historical lists vary in the names, order, and length of their reigns, scholars have been able to use these lists to create a chronology of Igodomigodo, and most agree that the Ogiso period began around 335 AD. Some early traditions point to Udo, a settlement situated about 24 kilometers to the northwest of Benin City, as probably the original settlement of the Ogiso. And some scholars also regard Udo as the initial capital of Igodomigodo and a part-time royal residence of the first Ogiso, Ogiso Igodo. Archaeological evidence supports Udo's antiquity. It's considered the oldest town in the area. In fact, the walls and ditches surrounding Udo were found to be older than those of Benin City. In the late 1940s, during botanical research near the Okomu Forest Reserve south of Udo, the Cambridge Botanical Expedition mapped Udo's ancient walls and ditches, uncovering charcoal fragments and pottery. They also found the bronze works produced in Udo to be different in style and older than that of Benin. At some point, Ogiso Igodo moved the capital from Udo to Ugbekun, a settlement a few kilometers to the southeast. The reason for this is not certain. It has been suggested that it was to move further away from attacks by the Yorubas, or constant rebellion within Udo. Ogiso Igodo died in Ugbekun, and it remained important in Edo history. It became a religious hub, home to many sacred sites, shrines, and oracles, some still active today. Not all oral accounts agree that Igodo ruled from Ugbekun, but most agree that his successor Ogiso Ere eventually moved the palace and with it the seat of power to the area that would grow to become Benin City. The Ogiso Dynasty of Igodomigodo was a highly structured monarchy that endured for many generations. The 31 Ogisos who ruled during this era were said to include 2 women. It is uncertain whether these rulers were initially elected or inherited their positions through primogeniture. The Ogisos granted each community autonomy, transforming Igodomigodo into a network of thriving, self-governing settlements. These towns were led by their own chiefs, who paid tribute to the Ogiso. Most of the towns were surrounded by earthen walls, which likely marked boundaries rather than serving as military fortifications. The first excavated Iron Age settlement in the Edo territory is dated to circa 7th centuries AD, so ironworking was of great importance at the time. The economy was predominantly agricultural, supported by skilled artisans and craftsmen who were organized into guilds. The reign of Ogiso Igodo marked the beginning of centralized governance in Igodomigodo. Igodo is remembered with a blend of history and legend. Often described as a figure of divine origin, he introduced administrative and social reforms that made it possible to govern the newly unified territory more effectively. It was during his reign that key cultural and religious traditions began to take shape, most notably the concept of divine kingship, where the ruler was seen as a sacred mediator between the people and the spiritual world. This belief would remain central to the Benin monarchy for centuries. Upon Igodo's death, his eldest son, Ogiso Heir, succeeded him. Heir worked to consolidate the kingdom further and moved the capital from Ugbekun to Benin City. He is credited with introducing 2 important symbols of royal authority, the Ada and the Eben. Historical accounts describe them either as swords of state or as ceremonial scepters. The Eben, a flat iron shaped like a leaf blade, could be carried by titled chiefs during ceremonies. The Ada, a curved ceremonial blade, was reserved exclusively for the Oba, who could grant its use to only a few high-ranking chiefs. Centuries after Heir's rule, the 23rd ruler, Ogiso Oryagba, introduced significant reforms to the succession system. He centralized the process within the royal family, designating the eldest son or closest relative as heir. This helped reduce disputes over the throne and ensured smoother transitions of power. Oryagba also revitalized the artisan guilds, which had declined during earlier periods. He encouraged the return of skilled craftspeople, and trades such as ironworking, carpentry, weaving, leatherwork, and pottery once again flourished. His successor, Ogiso Odoliji, maintained many of these policies, but is best remembered for establishing the kingdom's first organized military force. As Benin's first warrior king, he used his army to suppress rebellions and expand its territory. One of his most difficult campaigns was against the chief of Udo, who had declared independence and refused to pay tribute. After a hard-fought struggle, Odoliji's forces captured Udo, bringing it back under Igodomigodo's control. But decades later, during the reign of the 29th ruler, Ogiso Obioye, the kingdom faced severe economic hardship. A devastating famine, brought on by droughts, wildfires, and crop failures, caused widespread hunger, inflation, and migration. Obioye's economic measures failed to resolve the crisis, and his reign suffered as a result. Obioye was succeeded by his son, Ogiso Arigo, who introduced different economic policies, but the instability persisted. Arigo's reign lasted only 4 years, ending with the succession of his only surviving son, Owodo. Ogiso Owodo, the 31st and last Ogiso, faced political, economic, and domestic challenges. Tensions between the monarchy, the kingmakers, and the royal council weakened his authority. His reform policies, especially those abolishing slavery and restricting the land rights of nobles, deepened opposition from the aristocracy. His troubled reign marked the end of the Ogiso era. Historians still debate whether the fall of the Ogiso dynasty was primarily the result of Ogiso Owodo's troubled reign, or whether his reign was simply the final chapter in a long decline. In addition to the political crisis he was facing, Ogiso Owodo also had family crisis brewing. According to oral tradition, Owodo had only one son, his heir, named Ekaladehan, and despite having many wives, he was unable to father more children. Fearing that his family line would end if anything happened to his only son, he became increasingly desperate to find a solution. Persuaded by his wives, Owodo consulted the oracle to discover the cause of his misfortune. He sent his first wife, Isago, to hear the prophecy. The oracle revealed that Isago herself was responsible for the problem and that she must be sacrificed before Owodo could father more children. But instead of delivering this message truthfully, Isago twisted the oracle's words to protect herself, claiming that the prince was the cause and had to be sacrificed. Believing her, Owodo ordered the execution of his son. The palace messengers sent out to carry out the execution, out of pity, and perhaps because Ekaladahan was a respected warrior, beloved by the people. Let him go into exile instead. Owodo's troubles did not end there. There was an unfortunate incident involving the assassination of a leading noble and the inadvertent killing of the man's pregnant widow by Ogiso Owodo. This act outraged the people, sparking a rebellion that led to Owodo's banishment from the kingdom. Following his removal, Benin entered a period without a king. During this interregnum, Evian, one of the elders during Owodo's reign, administered the government successfully. According to oral traditions, Evian had become popular after defeating Osogan, a monstrous cannibal that had terrorized Igodomigodo. For his bravery, he was given a name that translates to Evian, who staves off danger, and the people appointed him as the head of state. Historian Jacob Egarevba described this brief phase as an experiment in republican government. But when Evian grew old, he attempted to have his son, Ogiamien, chosen as his successor. The people refused, arguing that this was not a royal blood family. When the chiefs could not agree on a new local ruler, attention turned outward. The chief sent emissaries to the city of Ife, asking its ruler Oduduwa to send one of his sons to govern them. Benin oral tradition insists that Oduduwa was actually Izodua, believed to be the exiled Prince Ekaladahan, who had made his way to Ife after his escape. He had been welcomed by the Ife people and subsequently became king because of a prophecy that a strange warrior would emerge from the forest to lead the Ife people. Ekaladahan then changed his name to Izodua. In any case, Oduduwa was too old, so he sent his son, Oramian. Both Benin and Yoruba traditions support this story of Oramian and the circumstances under which he and his followers went to Benin. Oramian's reign was brief and difficult. Following severe opposition from Edo people who resented being ruled by an outsider and several other conflicts, Oramian declared that only a child born of local soil and raised in the local customs could rule over them. He therefore installed his son, Eweka, whom he had with the daughter of a local chief. In 1200 AD, Eweka became the first Oba of Benin, marking the end of the Ogiso Dynasty and the beginning of the Oba Dynasty. The Oba Dynasty will be the focus of my next video. Do you think the Edo people could possibly be older than we currently imagine? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching.